Now I have the pleasure to introduce HyperCycle, Toufi Saliba. What happened when I fixed the name of this conference, which is Transformation of Internet under the Aegis of AI? One of my colleagues, which is working with HyperCycle, mentioned to Toufi.
You can mention that I'm also from the same.
Yeah, for the same. We are all four. We are for the same faculty. She discovered that the name of the conference looks very much with what they are doing now. So immediately she settled out the conference between me and Toufi. That moment we met for the first time, and we could see that 1 hour was not enough. Then it was a failure because I had to talk with him next day, or I missed that. And then after 1 month we talked again, and we established he will be here. So I'm very happy indeed.
It's called love at first sight.
Come on.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's Dr. Mihaela Ulieru, one of perhaps like the most innovative scientists and published AI scientists that from here, from Romania. So I guess you guys very proud to have her, and I'm super proud to be connected through her to all of you. And in fact, the very first time I met Dr. Mihaela was in Romania. I came with, it was the first time, 6 years ago, I was invited to speak in an event at your parliament building, and there's a lady from the UK, she comes to me and she tells me, Toufi, come, this lady, you should go and meet this lady. And I said to her, why, what does she do? She's like, I don't know, but you really need to meet her. I think the two of you have some brain connection. So anyway, we met, and subsequently Ben Gortzel, who is pretty much my conversions partner, I call him. I don't know, how many of you know Ben Gortzel? Then, okay, so Ben Gortzel coined the term called AGI in 2003. He is my founding partner in HyperCycle. And before being a partner, he was actually, the way we converged, ACM enabled me to tell the world about AI decentralized in 2016. And then through that, some board members connected me with Ben Gortzel, and then long story short, he also connected with Dr. Mihaela, and then we got here. So that wasn't how I was going to start, but I think sometimes the conversation goes in different ways. So the Internet of AI must be secure, open, and free. Free as in freedom, not free as in free like you don't pay for it. Anything that you don't pay for it, we've learned it the hard way. If anybody offers you anything free, we know where that's going. It's either that you are the product or they're trying to trick you into something. There's nothing free in this universe. In fact, I love the presentations just before me, and when you have the basis to be physics the way we know it, the laws of physics, anything that moves, anything that is actually producing something is going to consume some energy. That energy has to come from somewhere. Time, energy, therefore there's cost. And then if there is cost, it's not free. So if anybody is offering something that is free, that you don't pay for it, there's a trick somewhere. But that means that there's a lot of opportunity, which I'm happy to be here and discuss with you all. So the current internet enables knowledge workers to collaborate and compete. I think we all know that. Back if you were to think in 1992, 93, 94, and so on and so forth, if somebody was working, let's say, for KPMG, and then somebody working for JP Morgan, they had their intranet. How many of you have heard of intranet? Raise a hand. Amazing. So what many did to connect intranet to each other, they built a bridge after another. Extranet, they call it. Extranet. We want, JP Morgan to talk to KPMG. Let's build this thing that's called extranet. And then, of course, we all know that the internet is what really won, not the extranet, because the internet came about that anyone from JP Morgan can go to this thing that is called internet and can access intelligence anywhere on the planet. whether it is from KPMG or their competitors and so on and so forth. Yuval Noah Harari wrote this book, Sapiens, and now he wrote another book. I'm not here to advertise Yuval, and not necessarily that I agree with everything that he says, but there's something that he says that seems to resonate with almost every scientist. It is our cooperative level that got us to govern this planet Earth and not individual. So now when it comes to the current AI and then what we look at it, so it's working in silos. The AI for Microsoft is just within the Microsoft intranet. If there's a single agent that is sitting inside Microsoft that needs some help from an agent that is sitting inside Google or in somebody's basement in Nicaragua or in Romania or whatnot, it does not ask for help. It just tries to ask for help inside the Microsoft intranet. Okay. But why is that? Well, I mean, if you were to look at where we were, the ability to have the smallest component of an AI engine to collaborating with any other stranger components was not possible without having to depend on a third party. Us Homo sapien, we depended on that third party that sometimes we refer to it as bank. How many of you have heard of banks? Sometimes they refer to it as blockchain, government, registry. That dependency on a third party, because we are slow, we tolerated it. But when it comes to AI agents, micro AI agents, they don't have the time, they don't have the cost that is associated with that third party. And up until 2021 was literally not possible at all. I was at the AGI conference in California, surrounded by 500 of the top AI scientists in the world. I asked the question, by the way, how many of you have heard of AGI? Raise your hand. Great, so I'm getting about 44.4% of the audience. I did the math very quickly. For those of you that haven't heard, artificial general intelligence, it's pretty much like the next step in AI before we get to artificial superintelligence, where it's supposed to be like a lot more intelligent than all of us combined. So there's a race towards AGI, and I've asked the audience, who do you think is going to win the race? Is it going to be Tencent or Google? Is it going to be Facebook or Meta, or is it going to be Chinese government, US government? They're all racing. They all think that they're going to win. Who do you think is going to win? Or maybe it is the internet of AI that will win. When you have a lot of AI scientists, pretty much all of them, they knew Marvin Minsky, and they're like, Marvin Minsky, I've heard him mentioned twice today. Marvin Minsky, he was in one of the pictures when I think Professor Adina was showing the picture in the past of, he pretty much wrote what HyperCycle is back in the 70s, so we cannot take credit for it, but effectively wrote a pseudocode for the multi-agent system, and many of them, they said it's not possible because when you depend on a third party, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's not possible. Many of them in the audience, they knew about TodaIP, and they said, well, unless you run it on TodaIP, I am the author of TodaIP. And of course, the one who got excited the most is Ben Gortzel, and he's like, yes, of course, and he started talking for 50 minutes. And everybody's like, okay, when are you going to finish, Ben? We're going to hear what Toufi's going to have to say next. Long story short, 6 weeks later, many of them, they decided to build this AGI on the protocol that I co-authored, and they asked me if I want to be involved. And that gave birth to HyperCycle in October 2022, in which we focus on building that tiny little component that doesn't exist in the market. People, they ask me, what's your competitor? Well, how can I compete with something that doesn't exist? There's no such thing as Internet of AI. We're building those components. But since then, we started receiving a lot of partners. Pretty much now I can list over 100 different companies that they were incepted after the fact that they're building different components, and probably they're going to be 900 more. But I'm here in Romania, and I'm super excited to tell you guys something that we discovered that we hope to share with you. All right, what is that thing? So TodaIP enabled that, costless and to enable basically, or frictionless, we should say. Although it is not necessarily completely costless or frictionless, there's always like the cost, but if the cost is operated by the machine to send and receive computation, when you have one machine trying to send another machine a question, what is the dilemma? This is something extremely important. We all experience that, so if you are trying to reach out to somebody and you're trying to tell somebody, hey, can you help me solve this problem? Somebody would be, sure, but are you going to pay me later? You depend on third-party works. But when it's an agent, it has about 10 milliseconds, maybe 100 max. And it says to the other agent, can you help me solve this problem? Can you help me translate from Romanian to English? Or can you help me read this image? There's a lot of ways you can imagine when agents, they need help from another agent. Agent A would ask Agent B, can you help me? Agent B would be, why would I? Agent A would say, I'll pay you later. And of course, Agent B is going to be, yeah, right. I'm going to do the work, and you're going to run away. Those are, can create a new agent, new identity, or whatnot. So the other flip of that dilemma, if like, here, I'm sending you 0.01 cent, please do the work. And the other guy would be like, all right, I got the 0.01 cent, I'll walk away. There's no need for me to do anything, I'll just walk away and keep collecting. Again, that dilemma, we solved it using a third party. Multi-agent systems cannot afford to go to a third party. Why they can't afford? Many people, they say, we can do it so cheaply that we will be able to afford that. Visa will be able to do it. MasterCard. And the answer is, again, which I'm really delighted to be here, and I heard many speakers before me, the laws of physics prohibit a third party to actually liaise or do the work. And why is that? So if, let's say, you take a micro agent in Japan, it's trying to reach out to an agent that is built in Costa Rica, just simply the speed of the network, based on the laws of physics, we've never heard of a speed of a network that can be faster than the speed of light. If anybody's heard of that, please raise a hand, because then we can shut down this company and go home. We don't really need to do anything. But so far, we know that the laws of physics says no network shall travel faster than the speed of light. It keeps trying to get to the speed of light. So if there's a third party, that both of them, they need to get into consensus to get to that third party. Hey, did that person have enough money? Okay, can we go and collect the money after we finish the transaction, back and forth? The 100 milliseconds is over. They moved on to the next thing. And effectively, when we say cannot afford, even time is not possible. Now, of course, when you look into the cost, it's very prohibitive when you have the third party in the middle of billions of agents talking to each other. How many of you have heard of Mark Zuckerberg? Please raise a hand. Mark Zuckerberg is somebody that I actually really respect. 6 years ago, I was sticking it to him, and I said it publicly. Would Mark Zuckerberg give his daughters the centralized, I call it the centralized bill? And what that means is the centralized AI bill, when a single entity can control AI in the world, will he actually give it to his own daughters? Imagine, like, you're going to let your own daughters be controlled by a single entity somewhere in the world. And of course, he listened. Of course, he changed. And right now, he talks about multi-agent systems and billions of agents. And in fact, he's probably doing the best advertising for us without paying him. I haven't paid him. He's been advertising us for free. And I'm not sure why. I think he's probably not needing the money, but we're happy about that. So anyway, what I'm going to tell you next here is that effectively, quick about presenting myself, forgot to do that. So my name is Toufi Saliba, and I play two roles. One of them is being the CEO of HyperCycle, and the other one is the global chair for the IEEE, the International Protocols for AI Security. In IEEE, we tried hard for about 5 to 6 years to build that standards for having safe AI or whatnot, to have like decentralized AI. And it's very, very difficult when you always depend in funding on a third party that they might see it as an attack vector on them. Remember, they want to get to AGI first. And imagine one of my guys will go to Microsoft, hey, can you fund IEEE for like a couple $1 million to do the decentralized AI? And they're going to be like, wait, what? But we want to get there first, so why would we want to fund this? It turns out changing the words from decentralized AI to the Internet of AI solved the problem. That's pretty much it. So anyway, could the AI global brain become a lot more powerful than any single AI? If you think it's maybe yes, or there's a very little chance that it's yes, then what I hope you would leave here today is with something that no one has told you before. Believe me, no one has told you before. And I'm here to tell you this thing. We talked about the multi-agent system, they can talk to each other, but what we didn't talk about is the wealth creation. And why I'm here in Romania telling you about wealth creation. I'm extremely attracted to intelligence, and I've noticed that there's a lot of intelligent brains in Romania, so I'm attracted to that. For those that are curious to know, I am heterosexual, but sometimes when I look at some man, and I'm like, man, I really admire your brain. Just chill, don't worry, I am heterosexual. I'm not really saying that like I'm in love with you in any other way, but Romanians, they happen to be really, really good in math. And you know, once somebody was asking if they can help them write a book about, they wanted the title of the book to be like, My Dog Does Math Better Than Most Programmers. Which is true, but still we need, if you were to compare to the rest of the world, Romanians, they just happen, my experience at least, and I cannot speak for the rest of the world, but I've done a lot of homework and I feel like there's a lot of computer scientists that they are needed for the world. And one of my Korean friends who, I do advisory for the Korean folks as well, in the president's office in Korea. I'm actually next week, I'm speaking in Korea at the General Assembly, 14 ministers in the room or whatnot. So I have a huge admiration for Koreans for the last 7 or 8 years, and I've been pushing them forward because they have certain things that are super cool. But when it comes to what he said, you know, all I want to do is serve my country so we can better serve the world. And that kind of resonated with me. I feel like it's a very good culture they have in Korea. Now, when it comes to what's on the horizon is that wealth creation, and it happens right now that we are giving birth to this global brain. So can you imagine a better time for wealth creation that ever existed in the history of humanity? And I don't think so. We are living right now in the most opportunistic, you know, people, they say the golden age won't even compare to the AI age. So in this wealth creation, it is expected that 90% of the entire wealth on the planet Earth to be either AI or a derivative of AI related to AI. Now imagine each and every one of those agents, they learn the wealth creation that we, Homo sapien, created hundreds of years before electricity. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you find a coffee shop today in Bucharest, and it's for sale for like $1 million. You buy it for $1 million, and 6 months later, that coffee shop used to, let's say, service 10,000 cups of coffees. Now it services 100,000 cups of coffees per month. It used to open from noon to 6 p.m. You figure right away that it opens 24/7. It used to have a rating, let's say on Yelp and Google, let's say 3.2 out of 5. Now it has 4.9 out of 5. Okay? So if I were to ask you, do you think it's possible that you can sell this coffee shop at that point for $2 million? If you think the answer is yes, please raise a hand.
Depends.
Okay, well, I think the answer in most countries, I get that it's yes. The only country that I thought that I got no, it's not possible, is North Korea. They said no, you bought for $1 million. 6 months later, still $1 million. Okay, it's not gonna change. So anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here, our civilization created this wealth creation, meaning that this coffee shop that generates more revenue, it's not only the revenue that it's making money. The coffee shop itself, it's worth more because you've made it better. So now imagine you introduce that to that AI agent that is doing service into the AI world, and you inform it with this instruction that itself has a little bit more value. So let's say you bought this AI agent for $1,000 and it's generating $10 per month in revenue. At some point, it's generating $100 a month per revenue. It's not only the revenue that is worth more. Your agent is worth more. So this is the extremely important point. Now, if you didn't buy it, if you're actually operating it because you happen to be an engineer, or you built a software that can operate it, or you built certain intelligence that is residing inside it, and more people are using it, and now you're aware that it's not only the revenue that you are benefiting from, it is appreciating in value. If there's a way to tap into that, then you've built an incentive for yourself to work even harder to make sure that that thing is successful. And of course, now imagine instead of having AWS coming in and saying, we're going to hire another 6,000 Romanians, instead, imagine the next 6,000 Romanians, they're going to actually have AI agents that's going to generate revenue for them, but it's also going to appreciate in value. In probably like 10 years from now, the GDP per capita for Romania will probably be, instead of like, you're currently at the 61, you'll probably be on the 6, certainly on the top 10 somewhere. Mark my words, and I would love to see that if that's going to be the case in 5 or 10 years. You're going to tell me, oh yeah, you remember this crazy guy coming looking like a Neanderthal, the big hair, big beard, and he said that he really thinks that this country has the potential to jump from like being on the 61st level to the 6th. I mean, I really think if it's ever possible to think that that is going to be the case over the next 10 years, now is the time. It's the fastest thing that ever happened in humanity, and it keeps accelerating, is the evolution of AI. So yeah, I don't think any one of you knew about that. Did anybody know about that wealth creation that can be implemented in an AI agent? Great. So I feel like I've given you some information that you didn't know, so I'm very happy about that. And I don't think anybody was expecting me to talk about this specifically, so I'm glad I did. And if you have any questions, like if any one of you would like to reach out, this is my LinkedIn. If you don't like LinkedIn, you can, I guess, find my contacts somewhere or send me a message somehow. But anything that is related to enhancing that wealth creation, anything that is around the AI agents or whatnot, I'd be happy to have more and more conversation with you all. I truly hope that my prediction, would be accurate, that somebody somewhere in Romania would really take it to the next level and would see it like rising to the top. So perhaps my next visit, you all can say, it's like, yeah, remember you said that, and you turn out to be right, because I like to be right. Thank you very much.
I put it a note here in order to remember 10 years from now. I don't forget easy. Yeah, okay. So I would like, because we are approaching the break, to have some questions or some conversation on the floor. Adina, you like to ask Toufi something, to talk?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. It was really very interesting. Why do you think super AI will be possible? I personally, I don't think so. So would you please explain? Why do you think that?
Before we get to super AI, I think there's most people seem to give different definitions of AGI. I think I agree. We've seen that AGI has been defined with many different. My definition of AGI is that there's a point in time that you can ask the machine, what does it take to get you to evolve yourself? So you're talking to your AI and your AI is responding and you say, hello AI, what does it take to get you to evolve yourself? And it would respond, there's a point in time that it would respond that it doesn't need any Homo sapien. It doesn't need it needs time and resources. Now, of course, in those resources, meaning let's say I need like $1 billion, and let's say your question is that what does it get you to be 10 times better? And better is defined by, let's say, faster and have more access to resources. If the answer it doesn't need any human, what will happen if you ask the same question 10 years or 10 days from now? So it takes 10 days to get to be 10 times better, and 10 days from now you ask the exact same question. It is 10 times better. If also it answers that it doesn't need any human, so I refer to that as the AGI. So if that's the AGI, then you keep asking that question, and of course, that means that there's an exponential growth, because if it takes 10 days the very first time and $1 billion, next time it's probably going to tell you 9 days and $900 million. Chances are it's going to be less. We don't know how much less, but chances are it is going to be less because it is already 10 times faster and better, whatnot. Now, what does it involve? It might involve human, it might hire human, because that's why it needs the resources. Initially, it might hire human, then subsequently it might build robots also by hiring humans, and subsequently it might build even more and more robots, and then eventually it doesn't need any human whatsoever, and it keeps using the robots to go and get the resources and do all of the stuff that it needs. The point is that you're asking the question and it's answering you with fidelity that it doesn't really need any human to evolve itself. And if that's the case, at some point, it will get to surpass a human level of intelligence without necessarily being ever at the same level of human level of intelligence. So many people, they think AGI is meant by AGI that it's a human level of intelligence. That I don't have the answer to. Many people, they might agree that we may never get to a human level of intelligence, but the airplanes, they don't fly like birds. They don't fly at all like birds. They don't do these with their wings, and they're not as efficient as birds, but they do fly, and they fly a lot higher than birds and faster, and they carry even birds inside them. And us people, I guess, sometimes we might think of ourselves as birds, but point is that it doesn't fly like birds. So that's my my counter to what you believe, and I'm of course, if we can get to the point where we can have something that keeps evolving to be better than what it used to be, without any final, stop. Sometimes people would be like, "But Toufi, it runs out of energy. Where is it going to get the energy from?" And I was having that debate with folks, and I looked around, and it wasn't in a room like this. It was like open sky, and I opened up and I looked up in the sky, and I pointed at the sun. I'm like, how many physicists are you in the room here? Great. So when I asked physicists, if you were to shine a laser beam towards the sun, do you get a reaction? And every physicist is like, yes. Can you measure it? Well, with the tools that we have, we probably don't. Can you imagine something with a lot more intelligence, fidelity, whatnot, that will be able to measure it at some point? Yes. Okay, great. So if run out of energy and you can have a laser beam sent towards the sun and you get a reaction, can you have billion laser beams? Yes. Okay, can you have trillion, quadrillion? Each and every one of them has a different reaction. Can you have those reactions to be a little more specific that would trigger a different kind of reaction? Yes. Okay, cool. So there you go. It takes 16 minutes at some point in time to convert the entire sun into some ginormous computer. Why 16 minutes? Well, it takes, 8 minutes for the light to get there. And then after 8 minutes, you'll get the response that it's like, it's already got some intelligence, whatnot. Anyway, so this is more, not necessarily that ever anybody's gonna do that. Maybe the sun is already a computer and we don't know that. We're so irrelevant to its level of intelligence. Maybe. But I think us Homo sapien would like to think of ourselves that we are the most intelligent thing around. So I think my argument is that I am confident we will achieve something that is with higher intelligence than us, and I'm not sure we will ever achieve our type or kind of intelligence. I really hope that answered your question to the best of my knowledge.
Toufi, I don't know why Adi gave me the mic, but I wanted to ask you, and I think it's important for this audience, because you left us somehow in the air. You said, okay, who's gonna win, the race, right? Will be the government, Chinese government or Zuckerberg or whatever, and that maybe it's the Internet of AI. So maybe you want to tell us why you are building the Internet of AI. Why do you believe it will win? And what is the good thing in decentralizing this, power and race toward it?
Sure. Historically, I'm known to start things and not necessarily to kind of do them all on my own. In 2013, I talked about AI decentralized, and people, they thought I'm crazy, especially computer scientists. It's not until ACM allowed me to tell it to the world, 2016. How many of you have heard of ACM, Association for Computing Machinery? Amazing. Okay, so it is the #1 in computer science in the world. In fact, when folks, they showed the Nobel Prize and said the Nobel Prize for Computer Science, that is the Turing Award, that is issued by ACM. So ACM, they got me to speak to all their 11 board members, and I've got 100% votes. Yes, go and tell the world about the AI decentralized. And they gave me some title, the global chair of like the practitioners board, yada yada, conference committee. But the point is that I did my service with ACM, and then that had a ripple effect that right now, if you were to go on the internet and put AI decentralized or decentralized AI, you will find there's so many movements in that direction. Although I came to a conclusion that you shouldn't call it AI decentralized, although I started it, but because when you call it AI decentralized, you get a lot of objection with people. They're like, wait, what are you getting me into? AI decentralized? You just tell them Internet of AI. They're like, oh, okay, cool. They'll get in. So why we really think that the Internet of AI will win this war, and it is our war, it's our Homo sapien war, because I really think that if Microsoft is incentivized to partake in that Internet of AI, same as Meta is incentivized, same as everyone in their basement, and there are millions of agents being built around the world, that they have the incentive to partake in that Internet of AI. It's likely to have much more intelligence than a single entity that has that AI. And it's actually a lot safer, because if somebody controls that thing, that it could be more powerful than all Homo sapien combined, and you can tell this thing, can you wipe out the people with beards? Then I would be upset. But if you have something that is that powerful, it will respond to you. But if you have something that it's everyone on, it's less likely that it's going to respond to you. So we use our strength instead of we use our weakness to be our strength. Like us, Homo sapien, we cannot agree to a lot of things. Like if I were to tell you right now an exercise, can you all agree to, or at least the majority of you agree to what the word ethics mean? You probably spend years and you come back to me, you're like, oh, this person says this, or said that. So then you're not going to agree to wipe out people with beards. So I think it is a lot safer, and a lot faster. So we are going to get there. I'm confident, and I'm feeling much more relaxed than I used to feel 10 years ago. So I hope you share with me that feeling.
Can you hear me? Thank you very much. It was a very interesting talk. I really appreciate it. It feels to me like a center blockchain, distributed systems coupled with AI. Am I right or wrong? And that's not the question, but so you, in a way, stole my thunder by talking about energy and how one of the biggest problems of current day technology is energy. So if you think that human brain uses just 20 watts to make inferences more intelligent than the whole data center, then you go back and thinking, okay, your model, which I think it's very interesting, futuristic, I also believe in it, but I don't think that actually AI will ever run humanity, at least as long that we don't figure out how we can, as David Cheriton from Stanford was saying, we can actually decide what's the difference between a dog and a cat with 20 watts. Clearly, one of the solutions from the energy point of view is thermonuclear fusion. But in my opinion, still we're far away from that. I really appreciate your futuristic view, and always have to think ahead in order to get to the next steps. But if you look into, let's say, in the next 5 years, why don't you draw me a landscape in your area of business in 5 years?
Yep. Thank you. So the one thing that we know for sure is that the wealth creation is going to happen over the next 5 years. It's going to be much higher in AI than anything else that ever existed. In the next 10 years, it's more so it keeps accelerating. And it's accelerating, it's kind of like gravity, you know, when you take a ball and you drop it, like the very first half, it's going at some speed and it keeps getting faster and faster and faster. And it's basically, it's an exponential curve of how much it's accelerating. So we know that for sure. And since we know that for sure, we're like, why don't we work with what we know for sure and introduce that Internet of AI that can be beneficial to all of us. It makes your AI smarter if it uses it. And if it doesn't use it and if it makes itself a service to it, your AI makes more money. So since we know that for sure, why don't we work on that? And that's precisely what we're doing. Enabling anyone who's partaking in it to get their intelligence to be a little bit smarter if they choose to, on one end, on another end to make more money. So why? Because it's providing better service to everyone. And I can tell you countless of examples. You know, like if your AI is OCR, optical character recognition, and it's trying to use some agent to translate, like let's say, an image that it's been written in some, Romanian alphabet or whatnot, and nobody really could read it, but you've built the agent that can read it. Your agent is available to all those other OCRs in the world. Therefore, your agent every second is going to make a penny when somebody requests that. So, your AI will make more money. By making more money, what we're trying to introduce to you is that it is not only the revenue that it's making. Pay attention. It's actually appreciating in value. We want you to partake in that appreciation, because if you do, then you're conserving some of that wealth to yourself and make sure that you rise and not just enable someone else to rise. So we're working with what we know for sure, as opposed to the maybes. Maybe in that trajectory, we can get to an AGI or ASI that it's better and faster than humanity. That can be debatable. Maybe it is already. Some people, I've been in an audience, people, they tell me it's already there, it's already better. Those are debatable versus the things that we know for sure. So we're working on what we know for sure.
Toufi, thank you very much, but I think we should head to the coffee break, and everybody who wants to know more can continue this discussion there. I personally, for example, I'm very curious about the hyper appliance, which I heard about, but please do the coffee.
Oh,
Yes.
Sure.
I
HyperApply is
I'm
one
the bad
company.
guy.
We invested in HyperApply, so it is just.
We have the hyper appliance here. I just wanted to say so.
So this is not HyperCycle.
You can ask Toufi about
and
it.
so just so you know, this is a company we invested in, and we are happy that we invested in. And there's a lot of hardware that we invested in as well. We invested in 21 companies because our revenue continues to grow. We've sold 541,000 node factories. So we used a big part of the revenue to invest in a lot of companies. So that company we invested in, and we invested in the company that makes those rings that have a bunch of those rings. If folks are interested in the rings, there's some relation to AI in almost every company that we invested in. I needed to make this clear because sometimes people, they would remember the piece of hardware as if this is what we are. That's not true. We can run on every single hardware everywhere, but that is one of our proud investments, and this company has already generated revenue.
And I just want to make, because I cannot not make this. I mean, we have this box here for the internet, and we have this one for the internet of AI. So it's kind of, it doesn't mean the internet is the box, yes, but it is a way to ease our way into the internet of AI.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll be very curious to hear more about it, but to the coffee, please. Let's head for the coffee break.
Thank you so much once again. Thank you.
Thank you.